Hello, everyone. Bit of midweek action coming your way as far as racing goes and the Matchbook Betting podcast goes, because we're previewing the first 2 days of Newmarket's July meeting, and a good couple of days it is as well. The likes of the Falmouth Stakes, we've got Duchess of Cambridge, we've got the Bahrain Trophy, we've got some fiendishly tricky handicaps as well, and a couple of races from York thrown in. Incidentally, if you're looking for our Saturday preview, that will be going live on Friday. So keep an eye out for that on Friday morning for our Saturday preview. I think just the 11 races we're covering as far as Super Saturday or Silly Saturday goes, whatever you want to call it. But Thursday, Friday are in the offing at the moment. Charlie Poste and Sam Turner join me. How are we, gentlemen? All good?
All really good, mate. Yeah, looking forward to the weekend again and the next few days, yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. Sam, welcome back. How's things?
Thank you. Yeah, good form. Thank you, Tom. Obviously watching plenty of Wimbledon, fair bit of cricket over the weekend as well. So a little out of touch with the racing, but doing my best to get revved up for the July meeting. Lucky enough to be there Saturday, so looking forward to that.
I nearly had a bet on New Zealand when I saw what England had to chase down, and I've realised that actually it's
they were
not.
Playing India.
Yeah. Yeah, good. You've
big price New Zealand, though, weren't they?
New Zealand were a massive prize. Sorry, that was in the last test against New Zealand, and then the same against India. But you've got to rethink what you've got to chase down now. It doesn't. All ideas of you've got to break records to chase this down. England just do it for fun.
They chased down 500.
Well, yeah, I think our captain was noted as saying he was hoping that they'd be set 450 because there was a part of him who just wondered whether they could get there. Incredible.
Good, we started well. Excellent.
Yeah.
You talk about being out the loop. I'm out the loop sport-wise. I'm in France. There we are. Let me remind you that if you want any recap of any selections, head to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all the bets. That's across all sports. If you're liking our content, give us a thumbs up. And that applies on our podcast, any podcast app, and on the YouTube link if you're giving us a watch on there. So let's get stuck into the Thursday action first of all. Now we've got prices for you. So the first race we're looking at sees Masakila at the top of the betting, who's a 3.1 shot, 4.1 for Walk of Stars. This is the Bahrain Trophy. Next in is 5.0 shot Zechariah, 8.6 Dover Legend, Al Karim 8.6, Green Team 21.0. Okay, none of us are with Masakila. A couple of shouts for Walk of Stars from myself and Charlie. Go on, Charlie. Why am I in agreement with you, or vice versa?
I mean, look, this horse he bombed out in the Derby for no real obvious answer. I mean, but maybe not liking the track. I mean, but he ran solidly in the Derby trial at Lingfield, finished in front of Zachariah, showed a bit of temperament there. Tom sort of moving about late on, swerving away. The big angle here for me is the fact that he's been gelded since his last run, and he's a horse that definitely has a stack of ability, but like I say, a slightly wayward mind. And I just think that with this gelding operation, it could just help him focus on the job in hand. And like I say, just at the prices with that on his side, I favoured him slightly more than Masakela, and like I say, I fancy him to uphold the form with Zachariah.
I'm in agreement. The gelding angle is an obvious one, but I do think Charlie Appley does really well with his horses when they've been gelded. I mean, they tend to just go on to bigger and better things. Like, look at Yabir. He's afforded the chance to, or this yard has afforded the chance to geld horses perhaps a bit more freely than other slightly smaller yards would do their stars, because they don't have to worry so much about them making stallions. I mean, Walker Stars, I disappointed last time, but obviously he was in hot water there, in deep water there. I did back him in the Derby, but I know he was very disappointing. I'm not worried about him staying the distance, and I thought he was a fair price. I thought he should be a bit closer to Masakela in the betting. You do have to forgive him last time because it was very disappointing. But I didn't. It was him or Zechariah for me. I just didn't really want to back Masakela. And Sam, you're with Zechariah.
Yes, I mean, look, I could see Masakela running a massive race here. He was noted stay on quite nicely. The Derby's already had a number of boosts and enhancements, so it looks a fairly solid race this year. But I was taken with Zechariah at Ascot. I thought it was a bit unfortunate to get collared on the line. Great ride from David Egan. aboard the winner that day. And I just think that the making of this lad has been stepping up in trip. And there's one or two little question marks about these, whether the extended sort of mile 5, on such a, it's not a demanding track, but it's a long straight here. So you really got to travel and get home quite well. And I think Zechariah will have no issue with that. He's stepping back a little bit in trip, but he showed a good burst of speed to get to the front at Ascot and almost win his race. And it's just a price thing with me. Masekela was sub 2-1 when I was looking, and Zechariah was 5.0. So that was just, and with Ryan Moore on as well. Not that Colin Keane was a massive negative, obviously, at Ascot, but having Ryan on as well, I think that's another bonus. So I'd just take a bit of a chance with him at 5.0 or above.
Yep, fair enough with Zechariah and Alex. Jeffrey, hi Alex, says Al Kareem can surprise again surely, although avoiding the race. It is Alex. Could do, ran well at Ascot last time. Are we all working on quick ground? I take it we're all nothing.
Yeah, it's supposed to be set fair, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So good to firm. We're pretty happy with. Good stuff. Walk of Stars for Charlie and I, Zechariah, for Sam in the Bahrain Trophy. We move on to the second of 4 we're going to be looking at on Thursday. This is the Close Brothers July Stakes, where Little Big Bear and Persian Force 2.76 joints. So that's changed ever so slightly than when I looked at it, because Persian Force was second in. Mysterious Knight 6.8, Brave Nation 9.8, bigger prices the rest. Okay, Persian Force for Sam and I. Go on, Sam, you can make the case first of all.
Well, for me, it's very much a flip of the coin, Tom. I can see the case for Mysterious Knight. I think one or two people have probably looked to bet him wooden place in this race because he's stepping forward. He's a very, very flashy colt. And I don't think he'll mind coming back in trip either. So I could see him running a massive race. He just looked a little bit learning on the job for me last time at Newbury. So against two rather professional contenders here, I think I'm just going to go with Persian Force. I was a little disappointed with him in the Coventry that he didn't travel a little bit better. I just think Bradshaw might be an aeroplane. So if I do believe that, then I've got to stay loyal to the form. Obviously, Little Brown Bear hails from the Windsor Castle, and there's been any number of winners come out of that race already. So I'm very much fearful of him. It's very much a flip of the coin for me as well. No dogmatic view, but the selection would be Persian Force. I think he can possibly travel a little bit better than he did at Ascot, and the yard like winning this race. So I wouldn't be surprised if he bounces back.
And the other thing for me, I just wonder if he didn't exactly rattle home up the stiff finish at Ascot. I just wonder if this will suit him a bit better, this track. Just on Little Big Bear and Persian Force, Sam, I'd be normally of the opinion that loosely a second in the Coventry might be better form than winning a Windsor Castle. But as you say, that Little Big Bear form is looking decent.
Yeah, and their speed figures were almost identical. So I haven't even really got anything to measure them by and prefer one over the other, to be honest. There was very little in it. And I'd say if the Windsor Castle wasn't working out, that would obviously give a little bit of confidence to Persian Force. But there has been a number of winners all the way down the card from the Windsor Castle that have come out and won all sorts of different type of races. So, it's worked out pretty tidily. And, the Rocket Rodney run as well. I mean, he's bolted up subsequently to give that form a bit of a boost. So it's very much a flip of the coin for me, Tom.
How, Charlie, confident would you be, Little Big Bear, to beat Persian Force, or was it a case of one or the other for you?
Yeah, I think I'm being completely straight up. I'd be with Sam. It's kind of a flip of the coin. I just thought maybe with ground conditions being quick, that it might be certainly slightly more in Little Big Bear's favour, and maybe Persian Force might enjoy a little bit kinder conditions and the quick conditions he's going to encounter on the July course tomorrow. But yeah, I've not got really a huge amount more to add. Like we said, the Windsor Castle form's worked out very well. I don't see a reason why Little Big Bear won't get this extra furlong. I think he looks to have a very professional way of racing. And yeah, I just thought maybe the quick conditions might suit him slightly better than Persian Force.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds as though we're not going to be big stakes between us, but the two who are fighting out the top of the market are the ones that we are focusing on. We move on to a more open race, which is a handicap. It's at 3:00, Class 2 contest, and it's over 6 furlongs, where Kanjar is 5.5. And 8.8 is Ingrator. Deodar is 9.6. Le Beau Garçon, topical where I am, 10.0. 11.5 Anadora. Bosch is 12.0. 14.5. And bigger the rest. We'll leave it there. I'll just kick off with Bosch because I've recently read out the price. 12.0 win and place for Bosch. He is a horse who I'm in danger of following blindly. On his 2-year-old form, I think he's the best treated horse in the race off 96. And he was interesting last time. Jamie Spencer rode him over the 7 at Goodwood, and he ran okay, but he didn't get the ideal trip in the race. I think he is probably a 6 furlong horse. For all he saw it out okay. He was one of 3, I think, in the race for Richard Hannon. Now he's drawn 17 here. Sometimes I think you want to be near side, you want to be lower, and I'm probably going to use that in making a case for one on Friday. But I don't know. It can depend what's going on each day. So we haven't got any evidence for that at the moment. But I think a good pace over the 6 is probably what he wants, and he is definitely well treated. He's been a bit disappointing on a couple of starts this year, but I thought 12.0 was very, very much fair enough for Bosch. Although we're sort of approaching last chance saloon with him, because I don't know whether he's just become disappointing or whether they haven't quite found exactly what he wants this 3-year-old season. He's definitely well treated. Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, again, crikey, it's a very, very open contest. I came down with Ingrator. I mean, I was mightily impressed with him on the Rolling Mile back in April when he beat Harry 3, who then conclusively turned the form round at York on their last start. But it's just more one of those for me, Tom. And like I said, I thought he looked a really progressive horse. I mean, he didn't run desperately at York, but he was made a strong favourite and finished mid-division. I'd just be inclined to give a horse an ordinary run on that sort of sharper track. And I mean, Renault returns to Newmarket, but granted to the July course. I just wonder if he can get back on the upward curve that he'd shown sort of earlier on this season. And I mean, again, the way that Shannon Camp were talking about him before York, they were almost making out like he was a potential group sprinter in the making. And if that is to be the case, he really wants to be going very close here off 91. He's drawn 15. You said about the draw, but it seems a lot of the fancied ones, Kanjar, Deodar, they're all drawn high in this race. So he's in amongst he's where the market says the right place to be is. And yeah, I'm just forgiving Ingrator a slightly off run the last day and backing him to get back on this upward curve.
Okay, Ingrator for you. Couple for you, Sam.
Yeah, just from the same form line, really, Tom. From that rip and run, I thought Kanjar did loads wrong. He was very sluggishly out the stalls. He was always on the back foot. That's difficult at Ripon as well, with the undulations there on the sprint track and on the round track, obviously. But that can be, a really difficult obstacle to overcome for an inexperienced horse. But he was switched back inside, then came back on the bridle at about halfway and power clear of Azure Bleu to win, very comfortably. And I thought that was a real nice performance. There looks pace around him as well with 12th Night, Hierarchy, one or two others that like to go forward, Lethal Levi. So hopefully he can hit the stalls running and improve. I just thought he could be a class above these just on that performance at Ripon. It was a minor event, but I thought it was a shrewd piece of training because he would have learnt a fair bit from that run, I thought. So if he can jump on terms with them, stay handy, I think he's got the quality to put in a big performance here. And I have to have a little bit over on the far side, really, Azure Bleu, just because he represents the stable that won this last year. And, if he's 17.0 or 21.0, something like that, I'll have a small win and place on him as well. He got blown away a little bit at Ripon, but it might be that he was probably made too much use of and he might be a slightly better horse than that bare result.
Just, it seems topical given we're talking about a big field handicap, but do either of you have any opinions or conclusions on where you might want to be drawn and where you might want to race on this course? Sam, first of all.
I would probably prefer, in this race, I'd prefer to be high, just because there looks more of a speed, an accent on the speed towards the stand side rail. I don't mind the stand side, to be honest. I think sometimes that far side rail can be a bit dead underneath the trees on the July course. So it wouldn't put me off betting something over there, but I would prefer to be high if I got the choice.
And on pace, Charlie, I don't know what you. I tend to not just on the straight course necessarily, but I tend to want to be up there. I think it can be difficult to come from off it. It can suit speed. I think. Any views on that?
Yeah, I think that's very much the case. Yeah, I mean, like you say, we want to be drawn around some speed first and foremost, and then you want a good prominent pitch, and again, certainly, again for me, Ingrator was rode like that on the rolling mile when he won, and so yeah, I think that definitely is an element that it suits prominent races, Tom, for sure.
Kidoki, let's kick on to a race where I'm probably going to look really stupid. The Prince of Wales is Close Brother Stakes, Group 2, over a mile and a half. My best bet lines up here. It's not Mostadaf, who's 2.56, Yabir 2.6, Living Legend 12.0, West End Charmer 14.0. Charlie, first of all, take it away with the just about favourite Mostadaf.
Well, I mean, look, as in his form is there for all to see. He ran very well at Royal Ascot behind Broome. I mean, maybe Hurricane Lane didn't do a massive amount for the form, but he was comfortably clear of him. And then obviously before that, we got the Bay Bridge form where at Sandown, where he finished in front of Adea, and Dubai Future, of course. I'll be honest with you, there was part of me that kept going back to Global Storm in this to see if there was a place element with him as well, Tom. As in, it looked for all the world that it's between the front two in the market. Living Legend seems to have gone completely off the boil recently. West End Charmer ran okay at Royal Ascot. So again, I just thought Mostadaf was, so to say, slightly more rock solid than Yabir, if I'm honest. I mean, I don't know. Sam might say different. I didn't think there was a massive amount between the pair of them, but I just thought I came down in favour of Mostadaf. And like I say, I'm going to have a couple of quid place on Global Storm in this as well. His form behind Garci and Hookham in recent starts reads okay, and I just thought in a race where there's two really against the field that he might be able to sneak into the minor places. He could run above himself at 16.0.
Sam, you can pick straight up off what Charlie thinks and asked.
Yeah, I'd probably echo a lot of the same sentiments, to be honest. I think Mostadaf is probably worth persevering with over the 12 furlongs. I wonder whether he might be a shade better over 10, but the handicappers felt that was right up there with one of his best efforts in the Hardwick. He just got beaten by a relentless galloper who had the run of the race for me. I think this track might suit him a little bit more. And, you need to travel here and see out the trip, admittedly. But I do think it aids the strong travellers rather than the horses that really got loads of stamina, like Ascot, that long pull from the bottom of the straight. I think that could be hard work for some horses, especially those that are trying to preserve what bit of stamina they have. So I think he's worth another try at 12 furlongs. I'd be surprised if Living Legend isn't woken up a little bit by Ryan Moore. I just think he's dropped out the stalls twice now. He ran in the Coronation, didn't run very well, but missed the break. I thought he was one of the pace angles there. I thought he was one of the pace angles at Ascot as well. He missed the start well, was never in the hunt. I just wonder this small field race with, one or two horses, which they've got a few questions to answer. I think we might see a better run from Living Legend. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, don't forget he beat Yabir back in April. And Yabir's been beaten at odds on the last twice as well, which sets the alarm bells racing for me. But okay, I know he's got immense talent. It's just maybe concentrating that talent and finding it, and that'll be the issue that his rider is charged with again on Thursday afternoon.
So Yabir is my best bet, and I know that seems really. It seems dangerous and possibly stupid as well, given, as you say, he's been beaten odds on the last couple of times. Obviously, the time before at the Rowley Mile, it was a prep one when Living Legend won, and he really didn't have the race run to suit, and there's a chance that will happen again here. But I think Global Storm in the race is key because he's not going to be far away, and surely that Global Storm's presence in the race has to have something to do with what sort of race Yabir wants. I'm not willing to call Global Storm a pacemaker, but I think he will be used with an eye on that if Living Legend, as you say, isn't woken up to, if once he's fallen out of the gates, to kick on and go forward. I think he's only rated £3 superior to Mostadaf, but over a mile and a half, I think he's much better than that. I'm not convinced about Mostadaf over a mile and a half. for all he sorted out okay last time, I do think he's better over 10. And you could argue that the Baybridge form hasn't exactly worked out into very, very solid form, for all Baybridge has been up in Group 1 subsequently. I just think on his day, Yabir is... Now, when I made the selection, yes, he was a little bit bigger than he is now. There was more of a gap between the two in the market. But I think Yabir still on 1.5 mile form should be clear favourite. And so I'd be very strong on him. I think on his day, he's so much better than these. And the Global Storm will hopefully allow him to show that. Anything else to add to this, or shoot me down, or feel free? No, you can just do that afterwards. Pile in the WhatsApp group. Okay, right, we're going out and about a little bit for any other bets. Sam, you're going to think I just copied and pasted you on the doc, and I did, but I promise you that this horse is in my tracker. So the 440 at Newmarket, go on, Noble Dynasty.
Well, no, you if he's in your tracker, you've probably got more of a long-term view than me.
Well, he's been in there for a little while, and I think I've touched upon the fact that he's been gelded. I quite like Appleby horses gelded for the start of their 4-year-old campaign. I think it can work out pretty well, and they can go on to bigger and better things. The main angle is the Mutasar bet run last year was very solid, and then he had a little bit of a break. He won ahead of a boy named Ivy at Thirsk, and then he was disappointing at Haydock and Newmarket subsequently when they put cheek pieces on him. A mark of 94, he's definitely better than on all known form if the gelding operation has worked. And if they hadn't gelded him, I wouldn't be so interested. But I also quite like Echo Point, and the fact that William Buick has chosen Noble Dynasty. Again, I think he's pretty comfortably on last season's form the best treated horse in this race off 94. I also think that a mile is exactly what he wants. And first start of the season, having been gelded, I thought he was a very fair price at about, if you can get 8.0 win and place, I think that's very fair.
Yeah, not a lot to add there other than the fact that he's won off 136 days off and 144 days off. And Charlie Appleby's won the last 2 renewals of this as well. So this looks very much a plan. So, yeah, I'm with you.
There we are. Charlie, anything else? No worries if not.
I had no other bets, no other backing bets today. No, on Thursday.
Fine. Thursday lays, I got nothing, but you two do. So Charlie, kick off with your lay on Thursday. You've been absolutely smashing in the lays recently, and you're looking in the 410 at Newmarket.
Yeah, I mean, and this is again, it's one of those. I think that the one of ones previously was. Well, I've been with this horse before. I actually backed him in a forecast with Caribus at Ascot, Mighty Ulysses, but. Again, it's just price related. If he's under 2.5, I like Berkshire Shadow as well. I think there could be a big day in him. And we've also got Alba Hare, who was a Grade 1 winning juvenile with Charlie Appleby, had one run in May and in January, making his return. And I just thought there was enough depth of competition here that if he was going to be very short, that he was worth taking on, because he got beat at Haydock, again granted by Who Put 50 in You, who ran well in the Britannia. And so that there's plenty of form lines that suggest maybe Mighty Ulysses will win this comfortably, but he has been beat the last twice, granted certainly the last day in deep water. But it just strength the competition related that I thought there was enough in against him. Again, Berkshire Shadow doesn't have much ground to make up on the run in the St James Palace, and I would imagine he's going to be 2 or 3 points certainly bigger than Mighty Ulysses. As again, there's going to be a lot of people bringing in the Frankie factor back from his sabbatical and whatever else, and so price related, I'll be willing to take him on if at less than 2.5.
The sabbatical.
We all need one.
Yeah, I love how the performance that really pissed Gosden off was on a horse called Saga. Feels like that's about right. Sam,
I think the performance that really pissed Gosden off was Frankie's when he was speaking to some punters in one of the boxes at Ascot before the first race on the first day. Probably that was the worst performance he delivered. But anyway, he wouldn't be the only one to be doing that and hawking his wares around the boxes. Have you opened any of those brown envelopes yet, Tom?
Yep.
Good man.
Didn't happen.
Yeah, a lot like Charlie, really. I could certainly see Masakela winning the Bahrain Trophy, but there is a little bit of strength in depth in it, and it's a price thing. You know, if he was sort of 5 to 2, 11 to 4, I probably wouldn't do it. But if he's sort of sub 3.0 or in and around that figure, it's probably a chance worth taking. I mean, obviously he runs out the Derby. That form's taken a few enhancements, as we've talked about. But I think Walk of Stars can come back to form. I think Zechariah's a nice horse. I thought Deauville Legend ran really well from a draw that was disadvantageous at Ascot as well. And you could see Al Karim getting a cheapie on the front as well and running a big race. So there just looks a bit of strength in depth, albeit there aren't massive numbers there.
Okay, so and the point there being max price 2.9. So that's what Sam be willing to lay Masekela at. And Mighty Ulysses, again, max price 2.5 for Charlie. That's in the 410. Best bets, gentlemen, for Thursday. Sam, first of all, your best bet?
Did I go to Carlisle, did I?
Oh, yeah, you're going to Carlisle, as you do. Yeah.
Stranger on the Shore. Big Ackerbilt fan, obviously. That's a niche reference. Stranger on the Shore for me. I thought did really well to win at Leicester last time. Was in a very uncompromising position, sort of turning for home, but picked up really readily. Was a bit unfortunate at Carlisle the time before. Already won at the track as well. And I think the 9 furlongs here will suit ideally, especially with the Tinkler team in good nick. So Stranger on the Shore for me.
Charlie, did you understand Sam's reference there?
I missed that. Go on.
Even if he did, he'd pretend that he didn't, just to say, try to suggest that he's younger than he is.
What is it? What was it, Sam?
With Ackerbilk, wasn't it? The Stranger on the Shore, wasn't he a clarinet player from back in the day?
See, there you are.
Yeah.
Tom, you should know. You know what a clarinet is, don't you? I mean, you went to public school. You played the oboe and the French horn and all that malarkey, didn't you?
I was a cello man.
Oh yeah, of course you were. Yeah, sorry.
Lovely. Yeah. Very nice.
Charlie, your best bet, Charlie.
We're taking each other on. I think I've gone sided with Mostadaf, and the hope that one more chance at 12 furlongs, and take him to get one over on Yabir, who I'm not always convinced delivers quite what he promises.
Okay.
Charlie.
I'm with Yabir, who I can't argue with anything Charlie said. He doesn't, but I do think he is on his day much the best of these, to quote a commentator. Let me tell you about the offer, which is ongoing. You should know it, really, if you're a regular listener or viewer. And if you don't have a Matchbook account, it's worth opening one up, because this is for new customers only. You're likely to get best odds anyway with the Matchbook betting exchange. And if you do, you can get £30 back as a free bet if your first bet loses. So use the bonus code INSIGHTS30, INSIGHTS30. You place your first bet. If it loses, Matchbook will refund your stake as a free bet up to £30. The full terms and conditions are on the Matchbook website. 18 plus. Be gamble aware. Let's move on to Friday then. And this is the 150. It's a tricky little handicap. And prices are as follows: 4.33 New London. Yanafis is 5.5. Natural World is 7.5. 10.0 for Warhorse and Swillicombe Bridge. And then into the bigger prices. Sam and I are in agreement here with Yanafis. The very quick case for me would be, I was sort of half tempted, Sam, to put up New London here for lots of obvious reasons. And then I looked back at Yanafis every run into last time I was impressed with, and I thought he wasn't ideally positioned in the Britannia. The race just developed away from him a little bit, and he's just screaming out for 10, I think. And I'm interested how Haggis has campaigned the horse. I think 10 will bring out the best in him, and I still think he's very well treated. So I thought there was a decent enough case that he should probably be at the top of the betting.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head when you say how he's campaigned it, because Dubai Honor, who was fourth in the Britannia 12 months ago, then came onto this race, won this race, and is now rated 120. I'm not saying Yanafis is going to reach those heady heights, but it's interesting that they're following the same tried and trodden path with him. The Britannia are already throwing up winners. I think Claim the Crown won at Ripon, the first horse to come out of the race, and he won the other day at Ripon. So that's a little bit of a boost for the form. And like you say, I think the mile and a quarter here will suit ideally. I'd imagine that William could have run a number of different horses in this race, but he's settled on Yanafis, and that's good enough for me. Tom Marquand on board, and I think sort of 5.5, anything between 5.5 and 6 is very fair. Yeah, I too respect New London. you have to respect sort of an Appleby horse rated sub 100 in a handicap, certainly at this meeting as well. He looked very progressive prior to Chester, and I think back on a more orthodox track over this trip, he's going to be a huge threat to the selection. But I like the win and place angle with Yanafis.
I'd probably be win and place as well in the nature of this, and 5.5, you'd be getting your money back at worst if the horse finishes in the top three. Charlie, you've got a 12.0 shot. I take it win and place with Knightswood.
Yeah, win and place. Yeah. Maybe I didn't put that up on the typing, but yeah, win and place for me. This Mark Johnson, the Johnson team have won 6 of the last 10 run-ins of this race, and I think all bar one of them have been beat on their penultimate start. Knightswood ran absolutely fine behind Miss the Cut, who I mean, if you take Miss the Cut out of the race, he wasn't beat very far at all in the Golden Gates handicap at Royal Ascot. And I mean, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon here after saying about it with Mighty Ulysses. Frankie is booked to ride him, I think, and booked with 8 stone 9. I think that's only a pound above the lightest Frankie's done over the last 12 months as well. And again, he won this penultimate start on a real prominent, a positive ride around Chepstow, and I'd love to see Frankie get him out the gate, get him rolling, and again, no finer man around this sort of track for a front running ride. And yeah, just at the prices, win and place. Knightswood for me, Tom.
Okay, Knightswood 12.0. Yes, you did put win and place quite rightly, and win and place, I think, for all of us in that. Let's kick on to the next. We're off to York for the 205. 1.5 handicap. I'll bring up the prices shortly. I haven't got them in front of me just yet, but I'll get them up. But 3 different selections for us. Straight back at you, Charlie, with Forza Auto. I think it's towards the top of the betting.
Yeah, I mean, I found this race probably the toughest of all to go through, because there's a lot of horses seemingly not in great form, and possibly some trainers as well that are sort of slightly operating below their sort of normal sort of strike rate. Forza Auto looked really sort of progressive before his last 2 starts. I just thought at Haydock he got trapped out on the wing a bit up the straight, and maybe that wasn't the ideal place to be when he ran behind Contact. I mean, again, which looked very, very good form anyway. And then at Ayr on his last start, he behind Dark Jedi, he got sort of stopped in his run. And again, I'm not using that as an excuse. I don't think it was a difference between winning and losing, but I just thought there were excuses. They were both Class 2 events. He's dropped back down into a Class 3 here. Kevin Ryan's also going well, and Kevin Stott gets a good tune out of this horse as well. And this is it's more a chancy one, I'll be honest. I wouldn't be strong on this, and I wouldn't be having a lot on. But I just thought in an open race, again, a bit like Ingrator earlier on, I'm just going with Forza Auto who had a progressive profile earlier on this season, to resume that upward progress, maybe in a slightly calmer waters than the last 2 starts.
Yeah, Forza Auto does head the betting at 4.5, 5.5 for My Little Queens. El Picador is 6.5, as is Southern Voyage. Strawman is 8.5. Bigger Price is the final trio, so just the 8. And Danny has said, is there any way I can get a link of your guys' selections? We have replied to you on there, Danny, but just to confirm for everyone else that it will be up on insights.matchbook.com. The link has been posted in the comments for you, insights.matchbook.com. There'll be a link there to all of the selections that we all put up, so you can see and back reference as well and see how we're doing too. I am going just a small win and place bet, given that there's the dead 8 in here with El Picador for Keith Dalglish and Callum Rodriguez. A couple of starts ago at the track, he was a touch unlucky. And then in the pretty hot handicap won by Top Anticipation, he was so slowly away, he was just never in it. So that really was race gone then. He won at Musselburgh, and I thought he wanted to return to 1.5 miles at Carlisle. So it's a pretty simple case made for El Picador. I think the race he won at Musselburgh was decent for the grade as well. That was another Sunday Series handicap. So small win and place for me for El Picador, Sam.
Yeah, I quite like the filly of Richard Fives. I still think she's very well handicapped off 70. My Little Queens. I thought she came home well in the plate at Carlisle last time. Obviously owned by the Richard Fahey Ebor Racing Club, so it doesn't take too much imagination to suggest that this might have been a little bit of a plan for her. Off 8-4 with Sylvester on, I think win and place for her will do for me.
Okay, win and place for My Little Queens, who is around about 5.5. We are going back to Newmarket. We're heading to the Duchess of Cambridge Stakes. So this is the 225. And right at the top of the betting, they can't really split them at the moment. So you've got 3 in there at 3.5, there or thereabouts. Maylancy, Morge, and Lezu. Queen Ollie is a bigger price, is 9.0, and Tagline and Carmel about 26 point pair of them. Who would your clear favourite be, Sam?
In my eyes, Lezu should be favourite. In the market's eyes, they'll probably be seduced by Morge. That's Morge.
I mean, interesting.
Go on, sorry.
Interesting. You say seduced by Morge. Sorry. So I mean that. So basically, I can see why as well off the back of that form last time, and she's got quite a. She feels like she had the most profile going into Ascot. Was talked about a lot. What is it then that you prefer about Lezu in comparison to Morge?
Course and distance form. I think she's thriving at the moment. She stepped forward quite markedly for the step up to 6. I thought that was a decent race that she picked up and won very tiredly. Perfect timing as well by Frankie Dettori in more ways than one, because it was the only ride he had on the day after being shunned by John Gosden's team and Thady Gosden's team, not just John's fault. And I just like the progressive profile of her. She's achieved a little bit more on the speed ratings as well that I keep. So I'm sort of leaning towards her a little bit more than Morge. I mean, you're right in saying, Morge was probably probably one of the best backed losers of the Raw meeting. I mean, the money just kept coming for her in that Albany Stakes, but she couldn't get on terms of meditate. I think Mayland C stepping up to 6 as well should suit, especially on a track like this. And that was the fastest 2-year-old race I got that week, the Queen Mary. So I just think there's a bit of strength in depth here. I mean, Queen Ollie's no back number either. So I think this is quite a warm race. And I've just plumped for Lezu, who, has got a little bit of course and distance form, which I like.
And Morge will potentially be a lay for you?
Yeah, at a certain price. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think she'll be sort of in and around the 3.0 mark, and I wouldn't be surprised if the money comes for her again. So I don't mind laying her short. It's just a price thing. She's got a bit to find on the figures that I keep as well. So on a day where there doesn't look a lot of obvious lays, I've got to lay something that's got a bit to find.
Okay, Charlie, you agree, or certainly on the Lezu angle?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I was mightily impressed with her the last day. I thought she picked up really well, hit the line very, very strong. Course and distance form, like Sam says, I really like. I also thought maybe Morge might be better, slightly up in trip as well. Moving forward in the year, and yeah, I just thought Lezu might be just slightly sharper. And so. Again, I mean, in what looks an open race, I thought Lezu would be favourite, and therefore that's why I'm definitely siding with Lezu in this, because I think she actually represents value at the price she's at the moment. Tom.
And I've gone for Queen Ollie. It's just a small win bet probably. I felt that I thought she ran okay at Ascot. She ran well. I think the ground will be absolutely spot on for her. Again, perhaps it just developed ever so slightly away from her. I don't think she'll be too far away. I just thought she hung left a little bit. I thought this trap she won over a flying 6 at York. She wasn't absolutely rattling at the finish last time. I just thought this trap might suit a little bit better too. So I thought she was overpriced anyway at nigh on double figures for Queen Ollie. And I take the point about Morge. The other thing is I don't think there's much to her. I certainly expect fillies to improve past her as the season progresses. Whether that's now, I don't know, but I think others will develop past her. So I'd be against her of the top 3 in the betting. Okay, let's move on to the 240 at York. This is another race for fillies and mares. 3-year-olds here. It's the William Hill Summer Stakes, and Flotus is bang at the top of the betting at 3.0. Hala Mani is 8.0. Zane Claudette 10.0. Teresa Mendoza and Benefit 11.0. Bigger prices the rest. Charlie, I'll head straight back to you. Who do you like?
Yeah, I've gone with Zane Claudette. I mean, look, on the Commonwealth Cup form, Flotus is going to be very, very hard to beat. I've got massive respect for her. But I actually thought Zane Claudette ran absolutely fine to finish 9th in that race. And I'm going on the angle that she might just tighten up a little bit for that run, Tom. And if she comes forward, and again, also course and distance form, she won the Lowther. Maybe that wasn't the strongest of renewals, but I like course and distance form. And like I say, if she improves a fraction for that Commonwealth Cup, then at the prices, I think she's sort of double, or no, maybe treble even nearly what Flotus is. And so it's price related again for me, that I just thought she was worth chancing to come forward for the Ascot run and back on a track where she showed her best form, that it's going to bring her and Flotus closer together.
I'm with Flotus on the basis that I really expect the track to suit. I think that she'll just go. Maybe she paid a little bit late on at Ascot, having been right up there, and given where Perfect Power came from, I think it's not as I think she's a massive prize, but I think on her day she's best of these anyway, and I really expect this course to suit her. Just get out and go. So I think she wants quick ground as well. So I thought she was the right favourite. Small win bet for me. Flotus, Sam?
Yeah, I think it's a really intriguing race. And I just wonder whether Flotus is a little bit too short in the market for the reasons that Charlie alluded to there, that, Zane Claudette is a Lowther winner who loves the track, and also Benefit as well. Although she does have to come from quite a long way back, and that could be a problem here. I do admit that. But she was held up a long way out of her ground at Haydock behind Flotus in that race that's worked out so well. Sense of Duty won, and she got within 2 lengths of them. Now she's 3 times the price, 3 1/3 times the price of Flotus here. It could be a case that Flotus will be off and away, a typically aggressive ride from Sylvester de Souza towards the standside rail with the Railford Company, and they might not see which way she's gone. But she's had a couple of really hard races, so it'd be no surprise really if she did just dip a little bit under what she's managed to achieve. Whereas 1 or 2 of these other horses have probably been half trained for this race. And I was quite taken with Benefit last time at Salisbury. I know she only won a minor affair there, the Sovereign Stakes, but she did it in a really strong time and in good fashion as well. So I think there's more to come from her. I think her curve's going upwards. I think we sort of know where Flotus is. And I thought, as I say, that was pretty tough race in the Commonwealth Cup, whereas Zane Claudette and Benefit were both perhaps ridden recently with a view to the future. So I could see a case for both of those. I've just plumped for Benefit in the end, but I could certainly see where Charlie's coming from with Zane Claudette as well. I do like the fact that she's got good course form and knowledge of the Naesmire.
Right, nice big handicap to get stuck into next. We're going back to Newmarket. 2 want to come from Newmarket, the 3 o'clock, then the Falmouth. The 3 o'clock has right at the top of the betting for this mile 6 contest, Ascot winner Candleford, who's 5.0. Midnight's Legacy, won at Epsom last time, is 8.5. 9.5 for Contact behind Candleford last time. Zoffy 11.0. Trawlerman 12.0. 13.0. And bigger the rest. We go on. I won't get through all of them. Sam, Candleford for you, first of all, 5.0, fair enough?
Yeah, I think he was bred by Craig Kieswetter, wasn't he? This lad, former, was he doing the World? He won the World Cup, didn't he? The T20 World Cup in the West Indies. He opened the batting for us then, and sadly had to retire early with an eye injury. But he's doing pretty well at his I say the family stud out in South Africa, and they've got a really nice horse here in Candleford who went around the field like he was on rails at Ascot and just shot clear of them and won in the style of a group horse in a handicap for me. And I think that's still the case here. 5.0 is nothing to get too excited about, and there's a chance that he could recoil off that. But you look at his run at Kempton on his penultimate start, he thumped Coltrane by 3 lengths. And look what that lad's doing this year. He's beaten Stay Well. He's beaten all the right horses, Candleford, or run in amongst all the right horses in middle distance handicaps in his career to date. And I think if he steps forward from Ascot, and the rumour was that he was only just ready enough to go there, then he's going to take a world of beating here. I think it'd be remiss not to give Contact a big shout as well, because he comes out of that race as well. He was caught out of his ground a little bit for me. I put him up that day and I thought he ran really well. He couldn't live with Candleford over that trip. He just had too much toe for him, but he stuck to his guns really well. I think there's more to come from Contact. I don't think a marker 96 is where he'll finish off his season. And I could see him running a massive race. So I'll probably have to have a win and place saver on him as well.
I was tempted to go with Contact based upon how the race developed last time, and then I looked back at Trawlerman, Sam and Charlie, and thought, stall 3, I think it was, not mile and a half. Yeah, you definitely. Even though I know that, I think Gosden came out with a quote going into Ascot saying how he was frustrated that his horse was drawn wide or something. But mile and a half, you definitely want to be drawn wide. It seems at Ascot, and Contact and Candleford challenged at a similar part of the track, and that probably benefited them. Trawlerman was not given a hard time late on by Frankie Dettori when the race was gone, and I don't know that he'll definitely appreciate the extra distance, but I thought he was too big at the prices given that he was not favourite for the Ascot race. So win and place for me, Trawlerman, who was not helped by where he was drawn last time and how the race developed, 12.0. Charlie, you're an even bigger price, 15.0, your selection?
Yeah, win and place again. I mean, yeah, Candleford is there for all to see. I mean, I don't know if I'm kind of missing something with this guy. I mean, Sir Mark Prescott, obviously Alpinista at the weekend, horse are back running well. And I don't know, I thought this lad was a massive eye catcher in the Northumberland Plate. Now, maybe he might lack a bit of gears around here, but I thought he was way too far back at Newcastle and then made really eye-catching late headway behind Trushan. I'm slightly surprised they're bringing him back out as quick, but I see that as a positive in more ways than one. And it's yeah, I just thought at the prices he was well fancied as well before the Northumberland Plate, as if they're expecting him to pitch up and win one of these sort of races. And yeah, I mean, purely, I mean, yeah, again, I can see your boys' arguments with Contact and Trawlerman and Candleford, and I think we're seeing this as an ultra competitive race. But I thought at 16.0 win and place, that this lad, like I say, I think there's very much Mark Prescott. So Mark Prescott has eyes on this lad winning a big one somewhere along the way. And to me, he was 100% for the notebook after the Northumberland Plate, because he got way too far out of his ground. And that might be a danger here, down slightly in trip on under quicker conditions. But if he can sort of lay up with them, I thought 16.0 is a massive price for him winning place.
All right, that's a look at a very open race. The next one's not. The Falmouth, you've got 1.25, the price about in Spiral, off the back of a brilliant Coronation Stakes winner. Ascot. Prima Bacio then is 15.0. Surely got to be interesting in the without market, any filly in here. Sevilla, Spain, the French Raider is 15.0. Prosperous Voyage, 17.0. Sandrine, 19.0. We can all have a line on this and what we think is going to happen, whether or not we've got a bet or not. Charlie, you first of all, just in Spiral, unbeatable?
Unbeatable. I mean, I don't know if there's any sort of distance market, Tom. I mean, like whether that might be an angle, but yeah, I can't see her being beaten this. I was strongly with her in the Coronation Stakes, and this is much calmer waters. And yeah, I mean, price, I don't think the price matters. She'll just win, And like I say, whether there's any sort of angle with distance betting, I'm not sure. But apart from that, I've not really got anything to add. I think she's much better than the rest of these.
Okay, Sam.
Yeah, I can't add a great deal to that. And I would probably look at Primo Bacio in the without market. That Ascot performance was an indication for me that she was coming back a little bit in the Duke of Cambridge. I think the second's won since at Ponty by 5 lengths. Her career best effort, or certainly one of them, was in this race when only beaten a length and a half by Snow Lantern 12 months ago. And I just think if she's ridden Chile, providing they go a reasonable gallop and she's ridden Chile, I think she'll pick up and be ridden as she was at Ascot to pick up some prize money late on. I mean, that race last year, Snow Lantern beat Mother Earth, Alcohol Free was third, and Lady Beaufort was fourth, and she was fifth. I mean, that's a tremendous run. In Spiral Apart, I mean, any of the horses that probably contested that race last year would be, a strong second favourite here. We've got Sandrine, who has a question or two to answer over a mile. Prosperous Voyage has got plenty to answer after that Ascot performance, which was pretty abject. I don't know a great deal about Christopher Head's horse, if I'm honest. She looks as though she's got a little bit to find on the bare form. So I'll just take a chance that Premier Bacio has ridden Chile and picks up some place money later on.
Okay, the way I totally agree that in Spiral will win, and she's too good for these. And yet I'm going to have, just purely on track and pace, I'm going to have a small lay. I'd be willing to pay pay 25 quid to win 100 to see her win, just because of this track and what might happen. I think Prosperous Voyage, drawn 1. I remember when Voracious won this a few years ago, they edged themselves over to the standside rail and she made all up the rail. And I reckon out of 1, Prosperous Voyage will probably do the same under Rob Hornby. She was wide last time and then she came over to make up her ground. She's obviously got 9 lengths to find with Inspire and she's not as good as her. But I think I'd play her in the without market because I think everything else tends to be ridden pretty chilly. And if Inspiral's slowly away again, she might just find herself at the back of the field on the rail with some horses in front of her, and you might just get a bit of excitement for your money. That's how I want to play it anyway. I'm hoping.
Can you imagine the scenes if she gets caught in trouble in running and gets beaten a short head? Can you imagine?
So good.
There'll be another sabbatical needed. Another sabbatical.
It really would.
Yeah,
I think
a fortnightly sabbatical.
Yeah.
Do we think she'll be last at one point in the race because she is slowly away? Do you think that is how she? Do you think that's how she will be ridden? Or what do you think Frankie will try and do?
She doesn't have to be, does she? I mean, she can be a little keen, and with 5 runners, yes, they'll want to get some cover, I suppose. But if I was Frankie, I'd just be sitting wherever John Gosden wanted me to sit, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe just straight down the middle of the track, about 10 horsewidths away from everything. Just run and win.
No, Frankie, you're probably going to make the running.
Yeah, I don't know if she could. I don't. I think she's been slowly away the last couple, hasn't she?
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe it's just, she just needed waking up last time. She did need razzing along a bit. I'm just playing the fact that I want to be with the pace, which is, I think, likely to be Prosperous Voyage. And I think if you're taking those, if you're laying 1.25 and taking 17.0, you might be able to get out on both bets. I don't know. Small stakes, bit of fun, happy days. Anything to add? Good. Any other bets, gentlemen? I'll kick off. I'll go to the 250 at Ascot. First Officer, no prices as yet. The main angle is that First Officer was a pretty good winner, I thought, in a small field at Salisbury last time, having had no run whatsoever at Sandown, and definitely would have emerged the best horse in the race. Hasn't got a big hike for that. I still think he's well ahead of his mark. And there is another horse in there whose name I forget, who is £4 well in. And that might mean First Officer doesn't head the betting. So if you're looking at sort of, it's not a big field, but if you're getting sort of 3.0 or bigger about First Officer, I'd be very interested. Charlie.
Just a speculative one. Council in the 5:45 at Ascot, the apprentice race. Benoit de la Sayette, who rode him last time at Nottingham when he was second horse at Charlie Appleby's, retains the ride. Obviously, I think he's hugely talented. And this also got bits of form with Baid last year and Fox's Tail, who's now rated well over 100. And I'd have thought, for him, an opening mark of 86 should be manoeuvrable. And I'd imagine he's going to be very short price. But yeah, Council in the 5:45 at Ascot.
Okay, I will just check to see if there's any updated Ascot prices for you. Sam, you can give your selection.
Yeah, I'm big fan of Jane Chapel-Hyam, her training abilities. So Nizaka for me in the 4:10, a horse that won at the track last time. Saw it out well. The third Divine Magic has gone on to win since, and I don't think the subsequent rise in the handicap of £5 should be too punitive for Nizaka, who looks to have stepped forward twice this year since leaving Roger Varon and joining Jane Chapel-Hyam. So, yeah, I think a mark of 80 is very fair.
Any ideas, sort of, where the horse will be in the betting, Sam? Or
I would imagine near enough favourite. I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be surprised. If she wasn't. I think the biggest threat probably for me would be Dashing Dick, who also runs the track well, and with Tom Marcandon should give a good account. But hopefully Nizaka's going the right way, and the way that Jane gets these horses rolling and improving, I'd like to be with her. Price permitting.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Lays on Friday then. Nothing for you, I know, Charlie. Sam, you've mentioned Morge already.
Yeah, I think Morge in and around 3.0, if you can lay that. If the money keeps coming, it's probably a lay that I'd wait till quite late on, I think, because I think in the last sort of 5 or 10 minutes before that Ascot race, the Albany, she did contract quite a lot. So I'd probably just wait and you know, if you have to lay one on Friday, I don't think I'm being dishonest by saying she wouldn't be a 10 out of 10 lay, but it's just one that you put up at 3.0. I think if we can lay her type that come quite low down on the speed figures and look a little bit of I won't say a hype filly, but I think her reputation precedes her a little bit in the market. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm going to lay a hype filly as well in the form of Inspiral. Very small lay at 1.25 for all the reasons I've talked about. This will be different, and it might just be a point in the race if she has been slowly away. If they come over to the rail where you think, oh, hang on, even though she'll probably go and win. There you go. 1.25 is not going to cost you too much. Best bets then on Friday. Charlie Poste, your best bet.
What did I put up? Lazoo, yeah, course and distance winner, and she's definitely the one that I'm siding with in a tight race. But I just thought at the prices she was the best bet of the three main protagonists, and Lazoo for me.
Sam Turner, your best bet on Friday.
Yeah, I'll take a chance with Yona Feast in the 150 the mile and a quarter Heritage Handicap. Stall 12 isn't offering much of a favour there, really. Hopefully he can just get some cover from there, Tom Markham. But I thought there was enough in that Britannia performance to suggest that a step up to 10 furlongs, like Stablemate, last year's winner, managed to achieve, and I think it should go well.
And my best bet is going to be Prosperous Voyage without Inspiral, given that I think she'll probably have the run of the race. That's in the feature, the Falmouth Stakes. Also on Friday, a reminder that our Saturday preview will be out. I think there's 11 races for us to look at. So there's a shed load, put it that way, between about 3 or 4 tracks. All the ITV action will be covered, and that's at 11 a.m. on Friday, UK time, 11 a.m. on Friday. So hopefully we will see you then. Sam, thank you very much. Charlie, thank you very much. Thanks everyone at home for listening and watching along. Don't forget insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all of our bets. See you soon. Bye-bye.